Hello, and welcome back to the Emagia AI for Finance podcast. I am Bryan Chappell, Emagia's Director of Content Strategy and Marketing here. And today we have a special guest from Hackett Group. We have Bryan DeGraw, who has been in the industry for, I think we measure it in decades, not years at this point. You've been with Hackett Group for just about 20 years, a little more. You also did finance work with IBM, I see, Philips Electronics, Lucent, and AT&T. So obviously a pretty storied career, a lot of very deep experience in emerging technologies that are important to our listeners. So without further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what kind of brought you towards this, period we're in of this, sort of AI revolution.
Yeah, thanks, Bryan. Glad to be here. And my background has evolved from the days before laptops. We were using desktops, lots of paper pens, lots of manuals. So where we are today is really exciting. It's really a time of breakthrough in terms of how tools and technology is really evolving how we do business today. So it's exciting to kind of, look back in terms of where I started my career and where I am today, not only how I'm using it, how we're using it in the Hackett Group, but how we're seeing these technologies being exploited with businesses and, organizations like Emagia, how they're embedding this technology into their platforms that is just, taking processes like customer to cash to a level, I want to say next level, but we don't know what the next level is. It's just evolving it, and it's going to be exciting to see where it can go. If you want me to, dig into in terms of, what we're seeing and how we're kind of educating everyone in this area, it's really becoming, an overall intelligent automation toolbox. They're looking, when I say they, I mean process leaders, CFOs, CPOs, the leaders of organizations are saying, we're not looking for just, one tool that's kind of a do-it-all. We really need to understand what's all available in our workshop and where is the right tool for the right process, the right way to leverage it with customers, with suppliers, with our employees internally to make us smarter and faster, more agile. So when Hackett talks about this, we call it intelligent automation technology. So it's not just AI, it is AI along with those other technology frameworks that exist. So RPA is still around. Intelligent data capture is a key element. And we would talk about those. Certainly they have their places as well as their limitations, as does all these technologies. But, RPA, IDC, they mimic human actions. They mimic human interpretations of, what is on a page? How do I capture that and use it and move it into my workflow? Then it starts to evolve with, mimicking human interactions with conversational assistants. And then we really get into AI. And, we like to break it down in a simple example of left brain and right brain. So the left brain comparison of AI has been around for quite a long time now. We're talking about machine learning. We're talking about predictive analytics, predictive AI. So it's decision making, it's pattern recognition. It really focuses and excels with structured data. Okay. And those technologies have been around for a while. So what we've seen is over the past 2 years, when the concept of AI really started to explode on the scene, a lot of people were getting just educated on what it means. And to their surprise, a lot of them discovered that they were using AI in quotes already. What they didn't understand is what is the difference between predictive AI and generative AI? So they were using a lot of predictive AI, kind of, as I'm saying, the left brain. But on the right side of the brain, the creative piece, the creating something new, that's really generative AI. So that's unsupervised self-learning technology with unstructured data. In fact, generative AI excels with unstructured data. If you give it a structured report, it's going to say, okay, this is okay, but what do you really want me to do with this? When you give it 40 emails and 10 files and say, summarize the key findings in here and find the correlations and what's meaningful to me in all of that data, that's where it excels. And that's where it really is delivering really valuable, beneficial insights and ways that is saving people time for sure. So that's the creative part. It's the content creation component, which is the G in Gen AI. It's generating something net new for us, saving us time, doing it faster, and giving us insights that very often, if we as humans were just taking notes and trying to summarize, we probably missed some very important items.
Now, you mentioned the part about people getting educated, especially things kind of blew up a little bit, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Some kind of claim the Chat GPT thing kind of opened the door, and I think it opened up the door, as you say, to a lot of education, a lot of tire kicking. Are you seeing heightened interest for not just subconscious and accidental use of AI and Gen AI, but are you seeing a huge surge in interest and implementation of AI and Gen AI type solutions, in day-to-day processes of business? Are basically our back offices finally starting to put these into play as part of the strategy, as opposed to just some kind of curiosity or surface level sort of endeavor?
Yes, certainly I'm seeing this. We're seeing this across the board at the Hackett Group, working with our clients who really want to explore and embrace this. And again, at the beginning, there was a little skepticism. Certainly a lot of organizations were still remembering their experiences with RPA. And if you think back then, when RPA made a lot of promises, and some were fulfilled, most were not, and it became a bit cumbersome. I mean, the technology worked in certain scenarios, applications. It certainly still has its place for rules-based manual activities that it can take away from us that we do on a daily basis. But I think a lot of organizations tried to push it beyond its capability and then got disappointed. And also, technology is evolving so quickly. Apps are constantly being updated, software is being refined, code is being changed. And for something like RPA to work well, it doesn't thrive with those changes that are happening with logins and field changes and that. So it didn't work well. So a lot of organizations were cautious. So we did see a fair amount of organizations that kind of said, hey, I'm going to wait this one out. I'm going to watch and see what happens. Now there's I think we like to talk about three groups of organizations when it comes to any type of change, right? This is pretty common, even kind of how we talk about, consumers being early adopters, and then the people that wait to see, is this really going to be a useful, interesting product in the marketplace? So we've got the people on the sidelines. Let's see what happens. We've got people testing, trying, piloting. And then we got, the organizations that are, again, the early adopters. They're jumping in, they're following that concept of fail fast, find where it works, doesn't work in a certain application or case study. Let's try another one. And they're really having some success. When we look at our data that we've collected in our most recent key issue study, And I'm looking at both, again, AI in totality, both predictive as well as generative. There's the biggest category of organizations right now are in an initial stage of exploration. So they spent roughly the past year getting educated. What does it really mean? Is there an opportunity for us within our industry, both front office and back office? And those are the biggest percentages. 53% are exploring predictive and machine learning AI, and 61% are exploring generative AI. There's a smaller percent that are ahead of those. So, 17% are maturing and scaling actual, implementations that they have in place. And a small percent are, again, on those on the sidelines. 26% and 22% for predictive and generative are not doing anything yet.
And you mentioned being on the sidelines, or even people that have been in an exploratory phase for over a whole year now. Is that dangerous from a competitive standpoint when it comes to technology that's evolving this quickly? Like how far can you afford to get behind the early adopters? And I mean, are even the early adopters taking a risk of going too fast? Where do you sit with all that?
I would say that in this scenario, the ones on the sideline that plan to catch up later are never going to fully catch up and fully realize the benefit from a competitive perspective. Internally, they may realize benefits, but again, they're not doing it in real time. So when you think about time cost of money, they're behind. I like to compare it to when shared services first evolved and became an organizational concept, and today it's a foundational characteristic of world-class organizations. They receive the full benefit of doing that standardization and simplification, moving all their people into centers of excellence, looking for, on a global basis, where are going to be the places to really get the greatest cost savings. They achieve the greatest benefit. The organizations that in that scenario, kind of held back and said, well, let's see if that organizational change is really going to stick and work. They eventually got some benefits, but for example, today it's hard to find a place that you're going to find low cost and get that labor arbitrage. It just doesn't exist. So I think with this technology and taking advantage of AI, there's going to be opportunities that are completely missed. You're never going to gain the ground that you'll lose from a competitor that is exploiting Gen AI.
Okay, well, for AI or generative AI right now, where are you seeing the breakthroughs in Gen AI being used right now by shared service, GBS, back office function, CFOs, those type folks? What are they using it most on? What's having the most success? And are these even areas where they should be focusing? Should they be looking elsewhere, perhaps?
Well, I definitely think that organizations should be thinking about all different ways to be leveraging technology, and I know there many organizations are setting up teams. Even go think about the simple concept of the suggestion box. They're setting up teams that are collecting all those ideas and testing and putting them through kind of an evaluation process to say, will this provide, benefit to us in a number of different ways? Specifically, what I'm seeing, if I can get, a little selfish and focus on, customer to cash processes and the areas that Emagia is focused on in delivering software to organizations. There's three groups that we kind of look at in terms of how this is being leveraged in terms of work groups or work activities. There's structured work. So, it involves an application. It has some fixed rules, but again, the main thing is it's eliminating the human component of it, the manual activity and the cost, potential error and rework that goes along with humans doing things instead of computers. But, some simple example there is, new customer application process, new credit evaluation process, very structured. I need this information, get it completed, get it filled out. Computers are starting to do that fill out process of forms. We're seeing that around structured work. Where it gets more exciting is unstructured work. So, things that require acquisition of information from multiple places. So, a credit, the first example I gave is completing a credit application, right? Putting data in fields that are predefined. Take that to the next level. Now I want to do a credit analysis. Okay. Now I have some information from that form, but now I need to go out and gather additional insight and content and information about this customer so I could do my credit analysis. So that's getting unstructured. That's where, again, I'm pulling from internal information I may have on them from past experience, certainly going to external sources for data to gather and pull it all in. And again, where Gen AI is excelling is going out and getting unstructured information and bringing it together for a meaningful activity like a credit analysis. The third category is interactive. That's where we're really taking it to the level of the technology is helping with things like a collections effort, a issue resolution activity, where customers can get insights directly from sources of data that the technology is providing. So it's accelerating issue resolution, dispute resolution, listening into calls and taking notes and gathering history from a collections perspective. Those are the exciting areas that I'm seeing where it's starting to be exploited in the customer to cash or order to cash processes.
Now, when you talk about this sort of these exchanges and this being available, it sounds like it has a really natural sweet spot in the area of maybe deductions and dispute resolutions, especially for global companies that have a lot of customers in a lot of different areas, or a lot of offices in a lot of different areas, or just the back office function in general. Is that an area that you're finding to be particularly fruitful, or has a particular high amount of potential?
That definitely has, I would say, one of the highest amounts of potential in customer to cash. And I'll start by saying that is an area for all organizations of opportunity for improving their cash flow and minimizing their aging disputed receivables. There's no organization out there that has 100% current receivables, and they can have their process, honed and down from customer origination, customer master creation, doing the credit, processing orders, doing invoices. Something is going to go wrong, and where that manifests itself is in dispute. Okay. Something broke down, whether it's a data related issue, contract, data not matching, or of course you always have that, that again, going back to that physical, there's always going to be a physical element within supply chain. So what you actually provided, delivered in terms of a service or a product didn't match the order, doesn't match the invoice. We need to get that fixed. That happens with all organizations. The ones that excel in the space are they have a great process in place to resolve the immediate issue, and then they're analyzing the data, gathering the information. Where again, Gen AI is really showcasing itself there is early detection. So whether it's a live call, I'm calling you and saying, your invoice was due last week, you haven't paid. Verbally, you tell me that you have a problem with that invoice. Okay. If I'm using technology that's listening into our call, it's kicking off and identifying a dispute, and it's creating a case for me. Now, the benefit of that is, my call with you may be one of 100 that I'm making today, and I have to try to keep track of all that. In the past, that was a manual effort. I've got to record my conversation. I've got to remember that, oh, this was a disputed invoice. You're not going to pay because I got to fix something. But hey, I got to make another call, so I'm going to get back to that. I start making other calls, I forget it. The technology is not going to forget. It listened, it created the case. Now the next evolution, so that's exciting in itself. That's again like how we're using technology now to gather meeting notes when we're talking both internally or with clients, customers, suppliers. We're having conversations and I'll be the first to raise my hand for any of you out there who are average note takers. It's a game changer. It's not only capturing the transcript of the call, but it summarizes it for you at the end. Now, where I'm excited about the technology in the collections and specifically dispute resolution space is not only have the transcript, very nice, the summary, excellent, but in that summary, there's action items, information I need to gather to help resolve that dispute. Perhaps it's people in my organization I need to reach out. There was a shipping issue. I need to get in touch with that person. There may be shipping documents that I need to gather in order to figure out exactly what happened. The ability now for the technology not only to say, here's 3 actions items, but actually kick it off and start doing it for you, going into systems and pulling a bill of lading or a shipping document that I need, that's exciting because that's actually starting to execute on action items and not just tell me I've got things to do.
As far as implementing this kind of stuff, there's I guess the sort of not age old, but at least technology age old question of, do you build that in house? Do you buy that from a provider? What do you have to really weigh there when you're kind of trying to make that decision about how you're going to go about, putting this into your program of collections and dispute resolution and such?
Well, we can focus on that process, but I'll say with any process that you're looking to, make a step change in, you've got to think about a key term that we talk about all the time is the speed to value. And you have to evaluate, is this something I can do myself? Is this something that's proprietary? So we're also breaking it down and saying, is this, are you looking to use a technology that's something very strategic to you or proprietary from an industry perspective? In those situations, we're seeing organizations consider, native tools that's, gathering some, very, internal information. We see this often around, new product designs, product enhancements, service enhancements, where it's going to be a real advantage in the market. But when you think about back office processes, and again, while customer to cash is, I like to say, at the top of the list, because you're interacting with customers and really it drives a lot of value in customer satisfaction, customer experience, drives value. But many times it's not considered a proprietary, but it's super valuable if you can improve how you're interacting with customers in terms of resolving disputes, simply delivering a great experience in terms of being able to take an order, accurately invoice it, deliver the product service on time, delight the customer. That's going to result in getting paid on time. And so where the technology can excel is how to quickly resolve when that doesn't happen. What was the breakdown? And then the volume of data it can capture and analyze far faster than humans to say, here's what the root cause is. And now you can really take an action to make that particular problem go away in the future. that's really exciting for me, and I think it's going to be a game changer, especially when we talked previously about people on the sidelines waiting to see the benefits versus others. That's going to be significant for the ones that are jumping in and saying, okay, how can this improve my collections process, my dispute resolution processes?
Okay. What do you see coming next after this wave of stuff that you just talked about with Gen AI and whatnot? Where you see things going, or where would you like to see things going to be able to help those out in business and finance functions even more?
Well, I think that the next level is going to be getting people comfortable with interacting with the technology, with the computers. Whether you're going to, give it a name, and I know many technology platforms have named their assistants. I think Emagia has Gia. Getting to the level of comfort where you can have your customers interacting with Gia, for example. I think right now we're all comfortable with the push of information to us from technology, meaning, I want to get status on something. So I think we're all comfortable with, logging into a website or using an app on our mobile devices and getting a status. Simple example, where's my package, right? I want to know, when am I going to get it? Where is it? I think everyone's very comfortable with the pulling of information. The next stage is going to be the push of it, getting information from humans to computers. Right now, we're comfortable in the way I described it. We're comfortable as humans extracting data from a computer when we want it, how we want it. I think the next stage is going to be flipping that. So we've got to get comfortable with essentially, talking to a computer. And then I think that's going to take a little time. So for example, collection calls. And again, when we think about the different ways we do collection contacts today, a high percent are electronic, whether it's, a electronic email, statements being sent out. Many industries are using text messages, where it's applicable in certain industries, to connect with customers, remind them of a payment due, remind them of a past due, payment. And again, in that text world, I think we're all comfortable. But if a computer was to call me, and and they're getting very good, but I think we can still tell if this is a human talking to me or a computer, getting comfortable with taking that call and having a conversation.
Okay. As far as the continued adoption of this and the curve there, it does seem to be happening at a clip that's a bit faster than was expected by many experts. What do you think might be a lingering concern that could stand in the way of that going even further, or that happening as fast? And if you don't have many concerns, what are some warnings you could share with our people in the audience that are thinking about either expanding their AI capabilities or even really just getting started from a business standpoint?
Yep, there are definitely concerns, and not surprised about that. I mean, if you think about the majority of organizations have now embraced SaaS and cloud-based technologies. It took a while though when that concept and that opportunity presented itself to be able to tap into your systems, your technology, your data from anywhere, versus I had to be logged into a server on premise. That took a little time to get comfortable with that, and certainly there were valid concerns about data privacy, data security, but we've gotten over that. So similar concerns exist with how to embrace and get the full value out of Gen AI. We again, the question that we asked and in our study, and some of the ones that were major concerns some external, most of them were internal. That the current complexity of processes with an organization. Is it going to result in not having speed to value because we're too complex? Do we have to do that concept of simplify and standardize processes before we could take advantage of Gen AI? Another one, and this kind of goes back to what I had mentioned earlier when we were talking about RPA, having unrealistic benefit expectations. There's concerns that it's promising more than it can deliver. So that's a real concern that exists. And another one is, and this is a big one, data quality is a big concern, because where, again, Gen AI is going to excel is unstructured data that exists around your organization, but you do have a discipline around master data management. And that is a big area of organizations that are focusing on that now, is having a master data governance process and program and council, and then good processes around master data management. So the better the data, the better the insights. And that's really how generative AI technologies are learning. They're learning from large language models, lots of data. That's another key point. When you had asked a question earlier, should organizations do this themselves? Should they look at embedded platforms? Emagia has AI embedded inside it. You could take advantage of that. But even then, the key is, how good is the data for the customers, the clients that want to use your platform? If the data is bad, it's going to slow down the benefit of Gen AI.
So in essence, there's AI. AI is not a silver bullet. Basically, you still have to do the right things from a business standpoint, so that any technology can help you take the next step. Right.
That is correct. And I think one of the big ones is data quality.
Okay. All right. Well, that was great. Any other final points you want to get to that maybe we didn't touch upon here? Floor is wide open for you.
The last item I'll add, and this is again a timeless concept, whether you're going to change a process that's manual, whether you're going to reorganize the break room, it's around change management. And that is still extremely critical for success. You've got to help everyone understand, why are we making this change, or why are we embracing this technology, and what are the benefits? What are the benefits to your customers, your suppliers, your employees? That's an area that, if we were to go back and look at, compare, contrast very successful project changes and transformations versus the ones that weren't, change management is usually at the top of the list for the ones that were not successful.
Okay. All right. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for spending a half hour with us today. I know you're incredibly busy, and I know the springtime is incredibly busy for the Hackett Group. So thank you for taking that time out and spending some time. Maybe we can have you back on later in the year to kind of see where things have gone. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of brand new stuff to talk about as well. And thank you, all of you that are watching and listening. We appreciate your interest and your support of the Emagia AI for Finance podcast. We'll be back in a couple weeks with some more great content for you. Until then, feel free to enjoy our archives at emagia.com, or feel free to go to any better podcast provider like Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and we'll be there. At any rate, thanks for your time. Take care.